I'm gonna climb this volcano all the way in Nicaragua to cook these instant noodles instantly. There's water at the top of this volcano, which means all I have to do is climb 2,000 meters up, go down into the crater, and chuck them in. But you're probably wondering, why the fuck? Well, a few weeks ago, I came back from a night out.
There's no wizard in this fucking house.
I fancied some pot noodles before bed. I poured the water into the pot, turned the heat on, and readied my noodles for softening. But whilst waiting for the water to boil, I fell asleep. So I ended up with no noodles, no water, and a burnt pot. So then I got thinking, how can you just avoid the boiling process and get instant hot water? And that's when I realized the obvious answer. A kettle volcano. Okay, so if I want this idea to work, I'm gonna need a volcano which doesn't just burn the noodles into charcoal instantly. And luckily, I'm in Central America, which does have its fair share of volcanoes. This one looks pretty cool. I reckon that will just leave us with charcoal. Okay, so I think what we need is water on the top. So what I'm thinking is like the heat from the volcano will keep the water warm and almost act like a kettle, and then that will cook the noodles. So let's have a look at that. Okay, actually I think this one looks pretty perfect. Madeiras in Nicaragua, and all I need to do is take a bus and then a ferry to Ometepe. So behind me somewhere there, covered by clouds and fog, is the volcano we're gonna be climbing tomorrow to boil our noodles. And honestly, I just hope tomorrow it is way less cloudy. Just have to cross our fingers and pray. All right, we've just set off on the hike. We're not at the volcano yet. Already sweating like fucking crazy. Hot as fuck. Woke up at 6 AM. Let's cook some fucking ramen. Entered the jungle, entered the park. It is now time for us to start our ascent of the massive fucking boiling pot. Big kettle. 5 minutes. I can already feel how fucking sweaty I am. Jesus Christ. One hour. We've been going for 1 fucking hour. Yeah, easy. Easy. This is what it's fucking come to. It's getting proper misty around us because we're in a cloud forest. So, as the name would suggest, we're entering the fucking clouds, and it is getting a bit chilly. I am absolutely drenched.
My legs are fucking wet.
It's just all uphill, and if you know anything about me, wind, you know just how much I hate hills. But yeah, it's raining slightly now, which makes the walking a lot harder because your feet are constantly slipping back. And honestly, hiking 4 hours of shit and pain for 5 minutes of bliss that lets you forget the 4 hours of shit and pain. That's hiking. And oh boy, would I need a fantastic view to help me forget the 4 hours of shit and pain. Because as we reached the top, it turned into shitting out a bowling ball levels of shit and pain. The ground turned into sludge, which threatened to give way underfoot at any point.
Oh god, this is awful now. This is terrible. What the fuck is this?
I genuinely thought that if I'd bought a kite, I could have flown down the fucking mountain. I genuinely can't describe how shit these last 3 hours of the climb felt. Well, actually I can. So this would usually be a very nice viewpoint. Instead, it's a cold, rainy, windy mess. That just fucking reminds me of Leeds, honestly.
Oh, fucking hell. Oh my lord. If this day doesn't end with one of us in the drink.
Oh my god, this is fucking tough now. It's times like these I'm regretting my decision making because I'm sat here on a wet rock. My ass is soaking. It's cold, it's super windy, can't see a fucking thing. My legs are muddy. Should have just waited for the kettle to boil. But I think we've got an hour to go. We're nearly there, so push through. As we were reaching the crater, I started to become suspicious. There was no smell of sulfur, which usually accompanies a volcano, and the guide was being very bold into leading us into an active volcano. And it was at this point I started to worry that I might have messed something up during the planning phase of this. You can't see it, doesn't look like it, but we have arrived at the volcano. the guide, and it's not an active volcano, and the water is not hot. So this entire plan has gone to shit. Not only had the plan gone to complete shit, but we had no view to make up for the 4 hours of shit and pain we went through. No view, no noodles, no happiness. I was gonna give up, just throw myself off the fucking volcano and pray. But that's when it hit me. While I was watching Jake and Marion swimming in the volcano's muddy water, an idea, no longer about cooking instant noodles instantly, but about keeping the idea alive. So I've not given up hope, and I've just thought of an idea. Basically, if I can't cook the noodles here, I can bring the water back and cook them back home. But the struggle was not over yet. I'd sacrificed the last of my drinking water to carry down this volcano water. And it turns out, the way down is even more fucking difficult than the way up. Something I did not think would be possible. I ended up not being able to record anything because I never felt like I had safe footing on the way down.
I'm ending on my ass in here.
Fuck. I was so unbelievably exhausted. I was genuinely just focused on putting one step in front of the other. But finally, as we reached the halfway point, the weather started to clear, and we were able to see this amazing view of the island of Ometepe. And just as a comparison, this is the view from the exact same point that we saw on the way up.
This is our viewpoint. There's a beach there. Another volcano there. Imagination time.
It was breathtaking, and it didn't stop here. The way down got even better from this point. We saw howler monkey and a parrot. This is what we'd come for, and it nearly made the failure of the instant noodles go away. But I knew I had one last task to do before I called it a day. One more thing to do whilst I was on the brink of exhaustion. We have made it to the final place of this journey with the two ingredients we need: hot noodles and volcano water. And now we can truly test how long does it take for a watched pot to boil. And this is what it's all come down to. So instead we hiked 4 hours up the volcano. It had no hot water up there. So we hiked 3 hours down. It's now 5 o'clock. We set off at 7 o'clock. So I'm having my pot noodles 10 hours later. Was it worth it? We'll see how good they taste. It's now 5:15, so it took 5 minutes for a watched pot to boil. As they say in Spanish, bon provecho.
So you see how there were all the pipes leading all the way down to town?
Yeah.
So the guide basically said that the water that feeds the whole island comes from the volcano, because volcanic water obviously is filtered through the rocks. Obviously your water's dirty as fuck, but what he did say was that it does get filtered before coming to town. Your water's dirty as fuck, yeah?
Tastes like shit.
Yeah.
There's dirt in it.
Yeah.